Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, it's a weekend, so I decided to take another hour and kind of sleep in a little bit, which is kind of nice. You can do that sometimes. So, a little bit later, but it's all right. And so, we're continuing our adventure. Thank you for joining me today. And we're on day 39, Proverbs 10, 12 to 13 in the ESV. Let's go ahead and start off with this. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. Start again. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. On the lips of him who has understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks sense. All right, let's go ahead and look at the dichotomy already, contrasting between the hatred and the love, the two differences right there. The person who has understanding and the person who lacks sense. So that's the two we're talking about here. Now let's go ahead and continue on with context. We are going to memorize this eventually, but we're going to go ahead and start with this is always going to be our kind of thing we're going to talk about just to remind us what wisdom is. Because remember, when Solomon is writing this, he's talking to any young man or woman who's around him, or maybe for Jeroboam, is that his son's name, who need wisdom, who needs advice. And for those of you who are older of age, livid, not L-I-V-E-D, has been lived in this life and has a little bit of experience in life, and has gone down a path and has learned their lessons. You have learned many different things in life that kind of helps you survive, okay? And those bits of information about surviving and stuff like that, you have to kind of give that to the next generation. And if there's any advice you want to give to the next generation is the idea of wisdom. And it includes these things: purity, peace, being peaceful, gentleness, reasonableness, full of mercy, good fruits, impartiality, and sincerity, fearing the Lord, having integrity, being of sound mind. That's a big one that's been coming up. Taking responsibility for your own actions, willing to say, "I'm sorry," is kind of like the sound mind, taking responsibility. And also part of that is Galatians 5:22 and 23, the fruits of the Spirit. And it says right here, good fruits. So I'm just highlighting what exactly does it mean for good fruits. I think I could probably find verses specifically for each of these. Mercy triumphs over the judgment kind of thing. But love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. Now, if you follow these character traits, follow these actions, follow these ideas, yeah, God will bless you. God will give you a life full. And I'm not talking about material wealth. I'm talking about like just life, relationship wealth, so to say. Okay, so in the particular verses of this morning, we're talking about hatred versus love. Hatred, this is what it does: it stirs up strife. Okay, if you want to get into arguments, have disagreements, be divisive, and basically have a lot of drama, yeah, go ahead and hate people, hate on people. Biggest one, if you want to be political about things, is this idea of this hatred towards our president. It's easy. Now, I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but the current president is Trump, Donald Trump. This is his second term, 2024 to 2028, that era. And yeah, there's a lot of hatred going on, and hatred towards him. Yeah, and I could see that he is he could come across as a very slimy forward, aggressive kind of person. Not to mention that there's this idea of sides, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, liberal, or conservative. Like, there's a, for the ultra left or right leaning, there's a really rift between the two, especially in our government, where they like hate each other. If you are not in charge, you will do everything you can that the other side fails at their job. So the Democrats are doing a lot to try to bring down the Republicans or something like that. So I don't know. That's what it feels like. It feels like this hatred, strife between each other, and actually, it's not. The country is kind of divided, and it's kind of unfortunate. And it's because of hatred. Okay. But when you have that's hatred, it's not a good thing. It's not a good look. It doesn't help in the future. It doesn't help relationships. Doesn't help at all. But love, which is one of the fruits of the spirit, love covers all offenses. Meaning, you're willing to go ahead and go out of your way to go ahead and ask for forgiveness, find understanding, and just come together as a person, even though it hurts. Try to find understanding with the other people that you have a disagreement with. And I'm using it because they're talking about hatred stirring up strife. So if we're going to do a contrast, so if hatred in relationships stirs up strife, love, on the other hand, brings people together. So that means you have to go through the process of bringing people together, which is asking for forgiveness, confronting other people, in love, in peace, and like even in wisdom, like having being softer, not starting to yes you have feelings that go ahead and in emotions that are related to whatever it is that is the disagreement. But even in disagreements, you can come together for at least an understanding of where both of you come from. And you could also, in love, agree to disagree, whatever the thing is. And you could be okay with that. You can't force other people to think your way, even though you think you're right. Of course you're going to think you're right, because it's your idea, your thought, your belief, your value, your ideology. Is that a thing I could say? Whatever and you could be offended by other people's beliefs in the same way. But in love, you're able to go ahead and cover all that hatred and emotions and insecurities or whatever it is that's going through your mind, and just have a talk. And I think if you really want to have good relationships with other people, you got to understand that they will have ideas that are different from you, and you guys could debate it. But at the end of the day, you could go ahead and just agree to disagree. That's how I feel about that one. Because going on to I don't know if this because works here. On the lips who has understanding, wisdom is found. I'm going to add on to this. People who have understanding, wisdom is found. Okay, that's it. The rod is for the back of him. Someone who, okay, this is interesting. The understanding versus lack of sense. So the person who has, so if you are seeking understanding, seeking to understand what the other person is, that's wisdom. Wisdom is found there. Wisdom is found in this idea that you're willing to give up your own pride, to be okay with people to disagree with you and stuff like that. And that's wisdom there, that you could go ahead and lay aside all your lay aside your beliefs, and you're not necessarily laying aside, but you have it, but you're letting another person have those ideas, and they came up with those ideas and beliefs and stuff like that for a reason. So if you want to be reasonable, like reasonableness, there it is right there. Reasonableness is actually something that's coming up here. I feel like this is kind of an important one. Being reasonable as one of the pillars, 7 pillars of wisdom. If you're being reasonable about someone else, they have a reason to think the way they do. And if you really want to understand them, it's showing that you love them. You show love by seeking to understand why another person is doing the things they do. And once you understand that there's wisdom there, you need to understand why. Now, is it justified? Is it valid for what they're doing? Yeah, I think it. Are they wrong or are they right? Yeah, they could be wrong, but they came to that idea already. So you can't hate on them for having a worldview based on their lived experience. So if they have a lived experience and through their experience they go ahead and kind of come up with that belief, then yeah, you got to give it to them. You got to give it to them. So that's my thought on that one. But someone who this is where it gets interesting. The rod is going to come up a lot because in the past I've read Proverbs before, and actually I've read the Bible all the way through. And this idea of the rod is, to my understanding, is a disciplinary tool, and you actually use the rod on your children. I don't know what the rod looks like. If it's a bat and you're using a bat on your children, that is wrong. You should not injure your children in a way that they are completely incapable of moving anymore. So using a bat is terrible. So I'm thinking like there's some kind of, I guess the metaphor is some kind of physical stick that disciplines when someone is literally lacking sense, and they need discipline. They need to be told. So if someone is totally, this is where it gets interesting, where I'm trying to wrap my brain around. So yes, you're trying to find understanding of the other person on the lips of understanding. Hey, you go ahead and tell me what's going on in your mind, and you are reasonable in hearing them out, and then. So, I guess in love, in the nowadays terms, I wouldn't whack, you're wrong, whack, you don't know what you're talking about, whack. That's kind of the hatred side. How would you use a rod in love? Yeah, you call them out. Hey, dude, that relationship you're getting into, that's wrong. No matter what you believe or how you feel, that is wrong. You having an adulterous relationship with another man's woman, that's wrong. Don't do that. That goes into the area of self-control. I can tell you right now with 7, how many, okay, I want to ask this question. How many people are currently living in the earth, on the earth? Let's see. World population clock. This is live 2025. This is cool. This is really cool. Okay, right now this is hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. There's 8 billion people on the world. Now, how many of those are the same age? Well, let's ask this. So say you're in your mid-20s. How many, why don't you bring up a chair, buddy? How many people in the world are in their 20s and 30s? Okay, so there's 8 billion people. In 2020, approximately 2.3 billion people are in their 20s and 30s. See that? 20s and 30s. And you're telling me that there's not another person in the world that is attractive that you would literally want to have relationships with? I don't know. Let's give a let's say 1% 1% of all those people, those 2.3 billion people. Let's do the math. I'll bring up the calculator. Here, you can see this. Here's the calculator. I'm gonna say 2,300,000. Okay. 2,300,000,000 people that are in between the ages of 20 and 39, right? And say like 0.001% of them is someone you'd be attracted to. That's 2 million people that you could be possibly attracted to and would like to be with. Okay, I guess, and let's say like, well, let's be honest. Maybe because that's not all women or men. Let's say like half. That's being, for some reason I feel like there's more women than men. Well, let's ask that question. And out of those, how many are female? I'll just say that, female. So out of all those, how many are female? What percentage? What percentage is that? The female population, 3.2 million. Okay, even then. Okay, I just say this. Between 1.1 billion. Okay, let's do that. 1.1 billion. So let's go. That's almost half, right? One. It's million. Billion times, I'll say 1%. Whoops. I'll say multiply by 1%. That's 11 million women out there. Jeez, that's 11 million women out there. That would probably, and I'm saying only 1%. If I just said 1% of all women between the ages of 20 and 39, 1% of those are possibilities that you would actually marry, be with, have relations, and sexual relationships with, because they're beautiful and you are interested in them. You connect and all. That's 11 million people that you could be now. So, and only one of them is supposed to be your partner. And it says in the Bible you're supposed to be with the one. And it causes adultery when you find another man's woman, or you have sex with a virgin or something like that. There always is going to be another woman, and in contrast, another man. And we have to realize to have self-control, and our lustful thoughts are really base thoughts of having intercourse in relationships and feeling good about that, because it's God-given thing about that. And if your brother or sister is thinking about doing those kind of things, they need the rod on their back. Maybe not physically, because I would get a little belt and go, whack! What the heck are you friggin' doing? No, you literally have to call them out and just say, and that was just an example, and that's for any kind of thing in life. Where someone needs to go ahead and be talked to. So, in the area of disagreements, different morals and values, in love, seek to understand. Don't get into the argument. You could go ahead and argue and debate and all that kind of stuff. But don't hate them. No, that breaks up relationships and people. No, seek to understand. And there it is. If they're doing some things that are actually morally wrong and actually wrong, then yeah, go ahead and call them out, because I think it's your right, especially if you have a relationship. Like tell them, I think you're wrong. I think like you have to, in being understanding, wisdom and patience and understanding and all that kind of stuff, be reasonable about that. Okay. Anyways, because because you got to tell him you have to take responsibility for your actions. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I learned a lot this morning, and I hope you did too. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of it, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Peace. Literally. Yeah, that's my son. Because I woke up an hour later.